Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Oh man. I guess I should start off with another disclaimer, saying that I have never watched any Pee-wee media. None of his shows, none of his movies. I'm kind of glad that I haven't watched any of it before, because, ooh. At the same time, I wish that I had at least seen an episode of his show. I believe he has a show, because it would have prepared me for the hour and a half of my life that I got to sit on the couch with this thing on my television. My parents will sometimes ask me what the next episode is going to be, what the next movie is that I will be covering, and when I informed them that I was watching a Pee-wee thing, my father's response was, "I'm sorry." And I was like, okay, so it's gonna be one of those. The "I'm sorry" and the "okay, it's gonna be one of those" did not cover, it did not cover enough. It was rough. It was entirely rough. It was far worse than I was anticipating it to be. That being said, let's cover the box office stats, get that recap, and we'll go into everything about this movie. With a budget of $7 million, Pee-wee's Big Adventure generated an overall domestic revenue of $40,940,662 at the box office. This film was beat out its first month in office in terms of monthly revenue by Back to the Future, which just so happened to be our #1 movie 4 episodes ago. While Pee-wee only managed $23,071,674 that August, Marty McFly brought in a monthly total of $56,509,338. Not too surprised there, this eccentric movie was going up against an absolute legend. In a nutshell, this movie is about a man-child, not an insult. He's literally a man who acts and probably believes he's a child, who loses his bike and goes on, you guessed it, an adventure to find it. He meets wanted criminals, ghosts, cowboys, and biker gangs, all the while maintaining a high-pitched voice that would probably make me lose my voice if I tried to maintain it for more than 5 minutes. Okay, on to the opinions.
The stars at night are big and bright!
Deep in the heart of Texas.
If I can find my opinions, I'm still trying to metabolize what I just watched. The first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, opening part of this film, I was trying to discern whether or not Pee-wee was supposed to be a kid or an adult. Kind of like, for example, Fred, the YouTuber Fred. You know, the character is like 6 to 10 years old. Sorry, it's been a while since I've watched Fred. I cannot remember, but the guy is not actually 6 to 10 years old, right? He's a grown-ass dude. He's a grown-ass guy. So I was wondering if maybe that was what Pee-wee was supposed to be, like this child character that was being portrayed by a man. I still am not 1000% convinced that he wasn't a kid, but he had a whole house. At first, like, he wakes up in his room and I'm like, okay, he's a kid. Okay, I can wrap my head around that. He's a kid. Okay, he wakes up in literally a kid's room. He puts on his bunny slippers and pretends to eat like a carrot with his slipper feet. Okay, whatever. He's playing with his toys, his fire trucks. Cool. That's what it's going to be. I can get behind that. And then he goes into the rest of his house. And I'm just waiting for this other adult that's supposed to be a parent, though, to come on screen, and they never do. So, okay, so this is a guy. This is a whole man. Again, I've never seen any Pee-wee media before. And it kind of cements that he is a grown man when he goes into the bathroom and then proceeds to not shave his face, but shave his face with tape. Like, he takes a roll of tape and just tapes up his face in goofy in a goofy manner and then rips it off and screams. And I'm like, okay, I'm guessing that was him shaving his face. So he goes about his morning, whatever, and then walks outside, where another grown man walks on screen, Francis, who is immediately identified as Pee-wee's nemesis, if you will. He also was literally the same way. He was acting the same way right off the bat. Like, they were having this argument that would be perfect. The script would have been perfect if you had cast 2 kids. Like, I could easily see 2 8-year-olds having this back and forth in the front yard over, I want your bike, no, you can't have my bike, but it's my birthday, but too bad. I could easily see that happening, but it wasn't. It was 2 grown men. Literally, this film was just full of the stuff that you would see in a cartoon. Again, the taping his face instead of shaving. He's using an oversized butter knife, toothbrush, you name it. Pancakes are getting flipped onto the ceiling. At one point, a convertible car, the top acts as a parachute as the car goes over a cliff and they land safely. You even get the scene where there's animated eyes on a black screen to show where he is in the dead of night before he turns on a lamp and he's surrounded by all of this crazy wildlife, right? Complete with a pink girl dog to end up with his dog at the end of the movie. Like, it felt like it could have been a cartoon. If Pee-wee Herman had decided to make an animated film where he voiced himself, like all of the characters were voiced by, like, I guess the cast of his show, previous movies, whatever, it would have worked far better, but it didn't fit. It didn't work too well. A piece of trivia that I thought was quite interesting was that Pee-wee himself had never written a screenplay prior to this film, so they used a book to teach them how to write screenplays, and they did it verbatim, like to the T, what the book said. And apparently this film is used in screenwriting classes because it is beat per beat. Everything follows that book and is scripted perfectly. Like, it hits the mark perfectly. At the same time, even though this movie is literally hitting story beats when it needs to, it just felt like it went on forever with filler. The filler was nuts. Again, it felt like it could have been a cartoon. It felt like this could have been a 1 episode to like 3 episode special that was just shoved into a movie. It was too long. Really, it did feel like it was at least 2.5 hours long. I actually had to double check to make sure that I didn't put on an extended edition. It did drag. It's not that I didn't like it, okay? I didn't. I will be forthcoming and say that I didn't, but it just, like, there's liking something and then acknowledging that it drags too long, right? But then there's also disliking something, and then the fact that it does drag on too much just makes you dislike it even more. It was just wild. This movie was wild. I thought it was going to be, like, I honestly thought Pee-wee was a comedian for adults, like an adult audience. But as soon as the straight up clown circus music started off the film, I was like, okay, wait a second, what's happening? What's happening right now? The beginning scene where he's getting ready, you know, wakes up after his dream of him biking and gets ready for the day and everything, he laughed more than he spoke in the beginning, and it was 1000% a clown laugh, almost, and it was almost used as a filler for dead air for when he wasn't speaking. And again, he does use a higher pitched voice, like I mentioned earlier, so that also made me think that maybe he was supposed to be a kid for parts of it. But again, they did use clown and circus music several times through the film. It was either slapstick comedy music or circus music used interchangeably. So I was torn between thinking, okay, he's a kid, and then no, he's actually a man-child, or wait a second, maybe he's a clown? I don't know, because they had even gone so far as to make his complexion a little bit paler and blush up his cheeks and his lips, like put on some darker lipstick to give him this more clown appearance. without him being a clown, if that makes sense. Like they go so far as to have a bit where he's literally standing in front of a clown doing the hole pulling an infinite chain out of a small compartment. Or there's a couple of dream sequences that he has, and one of them is where clowns send his bike to hell. Again, his bike does get stolen, and so he's looking for it, and he's terrified that he's never going to be able to find it. And it just, yeah, so the clown presence was heavy. The fact that he was interacting very easily with kids a couple of times made me wonder if he was supposed to be a kid. And then his nemesis, Francis, still lives with his dad, and like he's playing with boats and battleships in a pool-sized tub, making you like they did really good at portraying kids. So it was just very confusing. It was very confusing, and it still is. I still am like, what is this supposed to be? It couldn't be for adults, and yet it can't be for kids. Maybe it's probably for kids because it was, again, very cartoonesque and slapsticky and whatever. I don't know. I try and go into these movies blind with minimal knowledge, and this film makes me wish that I do more research prior and not after the fact, because I'm worried about ruining stuff for myself with spoilers or blah, 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 whatever. But I'm like, okay, next time if we have another Pee-wee episode, we might need to do that. But plot, he loses his bike. He goes to a scammy fortune teller who tells him to go to the Alamo basement where he will find his bike. So he goes on a quest, an adventure across the US. He hitches a ride with a couple of people. Mickey, who gets imprisoned for cutting the do not remove label from a mattress because this is a comedy. A crazy trucker lady, Large Marge, who turns out to be a ghoul or demon or something, where her face morphs into some claymation bit because Tim Burton was the director on this film, so naturally we do have to have a puppet and or claymation scene. We do get another claymation scene of the T-Rex eating his bike in a dream sequence. He bumps into this train bum, John, and the train bum is so obnoxious that he conveniently jumps off the train in Texas. And honestly, the Texas part, because I am a native Texan, was probably the most enjoyable part for me. I don't know, I'd like to believe that I have a good sense of humor about the way Texas is quote unquote treated in these films, because it's so easy to make fun of Texas. It really truly is. There's a part in it where he calls his not girlfriend's Dottie, and she's like, "Where are you?" And he's like, "I'm in Texas." "You're where?" "Listen, I'll prove it." They do the deep in the heart of Texas bit. I used that at the beginning of my video. The Alamo part was kind of silly too, because the Alamo is made out to be this grand, wonderful, magical thing, and you get there and it's just kind of boring, and it's not everything that it's made up to be, in my humble opinion, as a native Texan. And so watching his face just drop further and further as he's forced to sit there through this long spiel from the tour guide. By the way, that I've been to the Alamo a handful of times in my life. I have never seen a guided tour in there, and the stuff that she takes them through for the guided tour does not exist. Like, that just straight up doesn't exist. So that was kind of silly for me as well. And bro, the rodeo scene, that is exactly what a local rodeo looks like. That was the most accurate part of the movie. I know that this wasn't supposed to be accurate to real life at all, but I'm like, yep, they absolutely nailed the rodeo scene for all of like 3 seconds. I had fun in that part, just, you know, making fun of Texans as a whole, making fun of myself as a Texan. That was funny. I would rather they just would have stayed in Texas and made 18 billion more Texas stereotype jokes than what they did with the film, but that's just me. I will agree that his bike was snazzy. He does get his bike back naturally, but he has to like storm Warner Brothers Studios because why not? I don't know. It was like, how many things can we cram? Like, how many cartoon style bits can we cram into one live action movie? And so they're like, okay, let's just use the studios itself to get those bits. But it was a slog to get through. It was just too much. This was just not for me. This film was not for me. I don't want to hate on it because I can't outright hate it, because I'm just so confused by it. Again, the one thing that I will give this movie is that there are two things, I guess. One, the Texas bit. Maybe that's because I was really grasping for straws, looking for anything to keep me kind of engaged, but that came in far too late. The other thing was that his bike was cool. I did like his bike, even without the whole go-go gadgets kind of, silly stuff that comes out of the bike that the bike can do. The bike visually alone, that was really cool. I liked his bike. I would legitimately own his bike IRL if given the opportunity. That's all I can say for Pee-wee's Big Adventure. If you've seen this film, I definitely want to hear your thoughts and opinions, because I still clearly haven't made sense of what it's supposed to be. I want to forgive it. I really, really do. I want to give it the benefit of the doubt, but it was too much for me. Or hey, just jump in there and rag on it as well. I totally, I'd totally be down for that too, because my guy, ooh. Regardless of all of this craziness, I will see you guys next time in 1995.